Hello, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. It's been almost half a year. I think 5.5 months. Back like we never left, as they say. It's been quite a long time since I touched this mic, so let me know how the audio sounds. I actually did have some issues with it when I was setting it up, but it sounded okay when I did a test run. What's up, Taco? Vulture? King Bio. Now, you are the most dedicated person that's been in my streams recently, Bio. I appreciate you. Hugan, Jalen, the boy Nate Savage. Only hear me in the left ear. Well, let me look up how to fix that real quick. OBS, only hearing left ear. Let me try this. Did this make a difference with the audio? I clicked a random option. Fixed? Whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm not as washed as I thought I was. Elden Ring Roundtable Hold OST, that's right. Since May, I have been playing an obscene amount of Elden Ring with my big brother, Aniki. And I'm sort of addicted to the game. Much love from the EU. Thank us, man. Thanks, dude. You know, the stream is EU friendly. Most of the people that I asked if it was a good time to stream were EU. Figure might as well do it for the boys. What's up, Zodek? The JK Network. Hey, man, what's up? What's going on? How am I? Well, I've been doing all right. I mean, I haven't been doing bad. There's been some annoying stuff over the past several months, but things are starting to look up. What's up, King? What happened to the sushi, bro? Tell me why I shouldn't like Egghead. Hey, Gauntlet. When was the last time I strummed? I believe April 14th was the last time that I streamed. Am I caught up? Yes. Yes, I sat down Saturday morning and caught up to the story. I was, I think, 20 chapters behind. But I didn't want to stream without having something to talk about or for things to answer questions to, so I caught up. And obviously, Downfall of Wano isn't finished, so I wanted to stream and have something to show for it. Love from Brazil. Thanks, Jose. Berserker One Piece, where do we start? There's no winning there. Did I get spoiled recently on JJK? Yes. If you've been on Twitter, it's virtually impossible to not be spoiled on it. I mean, most of my friend group reads or watches JJK, so it's kind of hard to avoid that spoiler. Gonlin says, I've realized that Hiyori is a scammer. Well, you would be right. What's up, Abel? Thoughts on JJK 236? Okay, I can actually give an uneducated thought on it. As you know, I've never read or watched JJK. I know very little about it, but I do know some of the surrounding context around Gojo. And conceptually, I'm struggling to see how that scenario could be deemed as good. And it's made me somewhat intrigued because, well, at least one or two people that I know who I wouldn't expect to immediately gobble up and suck the semen out of the balls of something did seem to be happy about it, although I couldn't necessarily tell if it was for agenda purposes or not. Or should I say strictly agenda purposes. JK Network says, Drizzt, happy to hear. I've been writing my own story on Wattpad. It's a future fantasy with gods, dragons, robots, and etc. Like Final Fantasy. Even commissioned my MCs and got them drawn on Twitter. That is a good step forward, JK. That's pretty awesome. How far are you along? Can you explain why you think Wano is a better than Golden Age? Jesus Christ. What have I been up to? Well, admittedly, nothing good. I did talk about Elden Ring. I've been playing Elden Ring quite a bit using the seamless co-op multiplayer with my brother. I think I've beaten Elden Ring around 4 or 5, maybe even 6 times since May. So that's been a lot of time. But I also started playing a new video game, and I got addicted to it. And since May, I've logged in like 640 hours into this new video game. And have successfully wasted my time. I've been playing racist Minecraft, aka Rust. Which, if any of you have seen my status on Discord over the past half a year, you would know that to be true. I didn't think you'd ever catch up to One Piece again. Well, I didn't want to read it. I did know that just as a matter of housekeeping, I would eventually have to read it prior to making the final downfall of One Piece. Simply because I need to know information that could be relevant to talking points that I bring up in Wano, or talking points that I bring up in the video to come after Wano. But like I said before, I do kind of regret not streaming, but there was really no point for me to stream if I wasn't reading the story, not necessarily engaging in any new material, and also had nothing to show for the Wano video. Because otherwise the streams would just evolve into similar to what they were before, which was me saying like, no, I haven't finished the Wano video, and nope, I haven't read One Piece. Which is not fair to any of the people who would want to ask me questions about it. I sound ecstatic to talk about One Piece. Well, I'm kind of just chilling now. The thing, as far as One Piece goes, this is a conversation I could actually have here, simply because I do plan on talking about this in the video to come after Wano. But the mental space of where I'm at with One Piece has sort of reached its final stage, I would say. So it's going to be noticeable. I'm not going to be able to hide it within the Wano video coming up, but I think that there will be a noticeable contrast between how I sound and the mannerisms that I come across with in the Wano video compared to all the other downfall of One Pieces. Thanks, Draben. Yo, Drizzt, back up. Am I too close to the mic? Can I read Kagurabachi? Is that the new sword manga that people were gassing up for failure as soon as they saw like the Shonen Jump cover? 10 chapters in, work on your next arc. Ooh. Your next arc is also the first arc's rather short, 9 chapters. That's not bad. 9 chapters is not bad to start the first sequence for the story. How am I feeling about Smite and the new God they released? Well, how am I feeling about Smite? I've been enjoying Smite a lot more recently. I've been playing Smite for 10 years, so once you've played a game for that long, you kind of go in and out of phases where you feel like playing it and you don't feel like playing it. And that happens to me like every 3 months or so, where like I won't play Smite much for like 3 months, and then I'll play a lot of it, and then another 3 months will go by, and then I'll come back to it. Right now, I've been enjoying Smite. As far as the new God that's been released, uh, that should never have been greenlit through. That God is absolutely ridiculous and very Mickey. What are my thoughts about Gear 5 in general? I could summarize it in a pretty short sentence. A neat concept, horribly written. Whereas the Levelly, oh my gosh, Levelly. Where's the Reverie video, bruh? So I have talked about this, but I'll just reiterate it here because I mean it's basically been a year since I've talked to everyone. And I think I may have said different information prior. In the last stream, I might have said something different, but just as an update. So I think before, my intent was to finish the downfall of One Piece in the next video I would release. So I would release Reverie and then Wano together, and that would sort of kind of be the end. But I have since changed my mind. The next video is strictly going to be Wano, and the video after that is going to be the Reverie, and everything that comes after Wano. After like thinking it through and then penning it out for what I want to say about One Piece and the future of the story, that made the most sense. Also, if you hear some yard work in the back, I guess I streamed at an untimely event. The lawn people are here. Any recent good media you've been consuming? Well, I've seen several pretty great movies since the summer's begun. Say downfall will be slowly. I'm almost finished. Final Storm says, what do you enjoy currently? It seems like the past couple streams when you do stream, lol. Ooh. I mainly hear what you don't like more than what you like. Nice to hear from you again. Hope you're doing good. Well, the things I mainly like are, I mean, most of my time has been consumed not by necessarily forms of media, but rather forms of entertainment. I have returned to my gaming ways, so I've been greatly enjoying gaming, much to the detriment of my channel. From Software is literally my goat. But I haven't been consuming any media outside of a couple great movies that I've seen, which I very much have enjoyed, which I've talked about on Twitter. Man, those movies are really good. But I haven't been reading manga in general, so if it was a commentary on manga, I haven't been reading any. What's up, Carl? Hey, Drizzt, do you read current One Punch Man? Not gonna lie, it makes me feel more pain than Wano. I have read a little bit of One Punch Man post the Garo arc, but I'll be honest. The Garo arc, in my opinion, was so horribly handled that it has left a pretty negative taste for One Punch Man in my mouth. And I've kind of lost faith in something that I didn't really have any standards for. One Punch Man to me was a guilty pleasure. where it wasn't plot intensive. It's not even character intensive. It is just kind of just fun to read. But it does have potential strewn across it, as most stories do. And just how badly everything was handled, plus the redraws, have steadily shaken my confidence in the story and has made me very hesitant to continue. Because if you've read One Punch Man or kept notice of it over like the years before it got an anime, and up past season 1, the Garo arc was sort of like the thing that people were talking about and looking forward to, and so was I. And yeah, big L as far as I'm concerned. Hunter says, Drizzt, thoughts on the newest Berserk chapter? So for the Berserk chapter, I did not read it. I know the last panel that, Rickard shows up, but I didn't read the chapter, and I don't know if I can bring myself to do it. Yeah, Berserk is in the worst conceivable spot, and it's very rough to talk about because it's put me into a mindset with Berserk that is hard for me to get out of. Berserk is very close to being over for me in terms of will I even read it moving forward. I have a few things that I planned as a last-ditch effort that I plan to do to see if it does anything in terms of a shot in the dark. But I've made my stances on Berserk and what I perceive to be objective mistake it's making in its adaptation. Have I watched the live action for One Piece? No. No, I haven't watched it. I don't intend to watch it. I know a few things about it, and ironically, my brother made me watch a 1-minute clip of it just because he knows about my channel and One Piece stuff. So I have seen a 1-minute clip from the live action, which I have various opinions on. And I have opinions on the live action in general and everything about it, but I have not seen it, no. Have I played Baldur's Gate 3? I have not played Baldur's Gate 3. I've never actually played a Baldur's Gate. I don't even know what it's about. When I think of Baldur's Gate, I just think of like Diablo or something. Have I seen the Spider-Verse movies? I've seen, because of Devil Egg, I've seen Into the Spider-Verse, but that's it. Will I consider reading JJK? Sure. How am I liking Elden Ring? Oh, I've been a fan of Elden Ring. What the hell? What was going on? Okay, yeah, my screen was bugged out for a second there. I couldn't scroll down. Am I copping 2K? Yeah, what's up, Satsuki? Yo, Satsuki, I heard you just got traded to the Bucks. Or from the Bucks. What's up with that, man? You think you're going to like Boston? Abel says, your thoughts on the live-action One Piece Nami, Drizzt? Well, following up my statement of how I haven't seen any of it, from a physical look standpoint, seems fine. I've heard from people that I at least trust to give me accurate information. I've heard things about the live action that for me would be complete and easy deal breakers in regards to main characters like Zoro, Nami, and what I already know of Luffy. So, I mean, my response to Nami would likely be that I think that they've, given what I know, if it's accurate, caveats here, asterisks, it's a failure of an adaptation for a character. Is Kizaru versus Luffy good? No. Nope. And I know that the Kizaru stuff for Egghead has caused many people to be excited, but as many of you know, even prior to my last stream, Kizaru coming to Egghead for me is a lose-lose situation with no positive outcome possible. Just from a conceptual standpoint and where the series is at in terms of the Marines, where they are in the world building of the story, and the Admiral specifically. Am I watching the Bleach anime right now? I am not watching the Bleach anime. I'm not really a Bleach guy. What are my thoughts on how Ace was used in Wano? This has probably been lost to time, but whenever Ace was first mentioned with Tama, I was very, very excited. I thought that the introduction and usage of Ace in Wano, which we all expected heading into Wano because of the hat-making skills that we knew of from Ace prior to that due to Marineford dialogue and the mini flashback with Oars. I thought that Ace had great potential not only with Tama, but also with Luffy's character. However, I think it can be said pretty easily that Ace and the usage of Ace in Wano comes off as a rather devious way into manipulating the audience to feel something that isn't written well, simply by using the character's name and presence. Did I like Mihawk's interaction with Buggy and Croc? No, I hated it, actually. Drizzt, what is your stance on the importance of world building in a fantasy story? Been really focusing on that. GIF, my story, like the culture, lore, citizens, kingdoms, etc. Well, at a base level, world building in a fantasy story can be very important, obviously, but it really depends on what your focus is when you're making the story. As an example, the world building of Berserk is extremely weak. It is not good, but it is not horrible. And Berserk is, at this stage, a fantasy story. But the importance of Berserk isn't the fact that it's just a fantasy story, because it's character driven. So it all depends on, what's your vision for the story? Like, what are you really trying to get across? How much is history and lore and things of that nature really important to how you want to tell the story? Are you trying to be more like Oda, but doing things differently, where the world building and the twists and turns are very, very important? Or are you just using the setting as a means to deliver what you want to do with the characters? Answering that question will basically guide you to what is good for you in terms of world building. Antigua X says, what are your current issues with Berserk? Miura being gone has been rough, but I want to tough it out at Drizzt. Well, I have a couple videos on this channel that sort of allude to what I'm talking about, but in the few chapters that have come out from Berserk, and I think there have only been maybe 7 or 8, in just those 7 to 8 chapters, an entire arc has been ruined. One of the biggest turning points in the story was poorly executed and essentially skipped over. There was poor execution on what was already going to be a subpar writing decision, and the way that the story is being adapted is undoubtedly, and any person that has the courage to say that, not just because Miura is dead, but because they really see what's going on, will say that it's been nothing short of awful. The characters not talking, things being skipped over, a PowerPoint presentation, completely misconstruing the characters of Guts and Griffith. I mean, these are deal breakers. Best and worst thing about Elden Ring. The best thing about Elden Ring is, for me, this is going to be a controversial opinion, because I know that Elden Ring has gotten flack for this, but I'll give you 2 best things for Elden Ring. Boss fights and the characters. I have never been more in love with the Soul series, and when it comes to boss fights and how good many of the characters in the story are. Like, my favorite characters in the Souls universe, for the most part, reside in Elden Ring. Drizzt is Lucci down horrendous. Seen people say he's a joke for months now, from asking for help from Luffy to not feeling like a threat, even to Zoro or the other Straw Hats. Yes, Lucci is down horrendous. And this is something that's actually worth talking about because I mean, this was basically what I knew was going to happen as soon as the panel showed that CP0 was on its way to Egghead. As you guys know, I have been very adamant on the stance that these characters did not belong in this arc at all, and there was really actually nothing to be gained by putting them here. The only thing that could have been gained is really the waste of the reintroduction of what is considered, I would assume by most people, to be a legacy character at this standpoint, which is Lucci. Uh, Many of us, for years, when we talked about, how strong is post-time skip Lucci and what way will he come forward in the story, there are certain ways that we wanted to see that happen and kind of wondered where his character would be. Lucci's been getting a lot of flack ever since the Reverie, where he just became, like the sex toy of the Celestial Dragons. But even that had potential. Whatever Lucci's doing in the world, how he changed since fighting Luffy, the worst thing that can be said is that, just the entire aura around Lucci was never going to turn in a positive way once he came up against, like, the significantly stronger Straw Hats. Not only that, but you also have the background information of Awakening and how that relates to Kaido and Zoans in general, and how Awakening for Zoans is sort of useless. But from a character standpoint, Lucci's just kind of cooked. There's no real future for him. He's just sort of around. Yeah, that's about it. He's just some dude. At a base level, this is more forgivable with Lucci just because it's Lucci, because it's not like Lucci was ever really, really promised to be something that could have been a whole lot more. But using him in the manner that he has been used in Egghead is certainly a waste. But the same could be said of just CP0 in general. The entire aura and the allure and the expectations of CP0 have certainly been shattered into dust since Wano. So this was only inevitable, but it didn't have to be that way. That new Bleach anime, some mid, people really hyped that shit up. I've heard that the anime is both impressive from an animation standpoint, which doesn't impress me at all. But I have heard that there are some floating concerns of the pacing of it, in terms of they're adapting too much too fast. I don't know how accurate that is because I haven't seen it, but that is word around the street. This is a follow-up on the One Punch Man conversation earlier. Zaw says, I've also lost hope during the Garo arc. Weird comedy use, time travel, character assassination. I have no idea what One and Murata are doing, especially while having good source material. I don't either. And what made it worse is that the redraws really just made me question, do they even know what they're doing? Because, I mean, the redraws, I mean, obviously to me, unless there's other context that I'm missing or there's some interview somewhere, but the redraws came as the result of a direct backlash from the community on how bad that chapter was that came out. I mean, it was so bad that everyone was roasting it, and then they redrew it. And it's like, oh, no, never mind, just kidding. It's just like, how much do these people, how much do One and Murata really think about the chapter when it comes to, like, the pivotal point before they put it out? That's one of the dangers with One Punch Man in general, is that, the Garo arc and the lead up to it, that is one of the few times in the story where it really actually kind of mattered how and what happened. And there didn't really seem to be any cohesion there. even with good source material available. I don't know. It's certainly weird. Uh, Allo Boy says, "Hey Drizzt, what's up, dude? Have you been reading the One Piece manga? I have. If so, do you think Lafitte and Devon will make a move soon? What are your thoughts?" Well, to be honest, since catching up Sunday to the One Piece manga, those characters never once came into my mind. Um, do I think they'll make a move? No. The Blackbeard Pirates are kind of ass. I'm not gonna lie. They look like the Straw Hats. So in a way, they're sort of perfect for each other. But I don't really have many expectations of any of them. Am I at the point where I think that Berserk should have never continued? I still stand by that the idea of continuing it was fine to me. But it's different whenever you watch how it unfold the way it is. Because there's a certain pain that I feel knowing the circumstances, knowing who is doing it, what the relationship is to Miura, and how that makes me feel. It's it's a whole other level of just pain. Will the stream be saved? Unless this devolves into a legendarily bad experience in terms of just chat interaction and conversation, this will be on the VOD channel. Sign says, Drizzt, hello again. It's weird how the fall of two emperors was corrected in a matter of weeks since Wano, whereas Whitebeard's spot took Blackbeard 2 years to be confirmed as emperor. Well, as far as, just saying who's an emperor, true. But, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but, one of the major fallouts of Whitebeard losing his spot as emperor is the fact that there was a complete and utter rush for all of the territory that he had once owned. That hasn't happened. I mean, there's no conflict in terms of, what did Big Mom and Kaido leave behind. It's kind of been forgotten. I guess they don't have any real estate. Even Whole Cake, outside of Kizaru going there, which could have happened at any point, even if Big Mom was there, because Big Mom's a fraud. There's no real major fallout from the two Yonko falling. Drizzt, do you think the anime adaptation of One Piece does damage to both the series and the community from a characterization and power scaling standpoint, especially when it affects agenda pushing? Well, yes. I mean, there's really only one right answer to that. Yes, obviously it will do damage because. Well, let's get one thing out of the way first. Animes are always, to a certain extent, going to exaggerate power scaling and characterization just because of the difference in how mediums are adapted and the work that goes into filling time for episodes. There's always going to be added stuff which is not insignificant when it comes to affecting how your average anime fan sees the story. And One Piece has done, I mean, I'm not very well versed in the history of anime, but One Piece may have have some of the most exaggerated difference in terms of what happens in the manga versus the anime that I've seen. I mean, what they've done in Wano, and and I haven't seen much of the Wano anime, but I've seen a lot of the clips. It's shocking to say the least. It's weird because the anime is probably going to change the entire legacy of how One Piece is viewed from a casual perspective, as is normally the case with animes. But it's something that actually needs to be addressed when talking about the manga version of the arc. So at some point during the Wano video, I do need to bring up the anime. Also, I'm going to skip a few lines to try to catch up. If I never answered your question, please throw it back in there and I'll get to it. This is a follow-up to the Bleach conversation from DJ Metcalf. He says, it is accurate, Drizzt. It's way too fast, and many of the issues with the Thousand Year Blood War are still there, sometimes stride. The few good things is the animation and some of the new scenes added. DJ Metcalf follows up by saying, Drizzt, both the CP0 and Crosskill were doomed to fail because it's just way too late into the story for anything interesting with them now. Just look at Weevil and Big Mom. Oh, yes. Well, CP0 technically wasn't too late. I mean, there was still actually hope for CP0 because at a conceptual level, CP0 still could have gone somewhere and been a factor in the story. Cross Guild, conceptually, at the point in time that it was created, was doomed to fail because it's creatively bankrupt because the world building is not in place for Cross Guild to even be relevant at a major meta scale. It will quote unquote matter, but it won't really matter when you look at the concept of what Cross Guild is supposed to be. And any action that results from that, almost by necessity, needs to be viewed in a twisted light because of how poorly the contrast to Cross Guild is set up, which is the world government. Drizzt, do you think the whole Egghead Island arc could have been wrapped up at this point, but due to bad pacing, it's been prolonged for no reason? Certainly this arc could have been wrapped up already. And I won't lie when I say that I'm surprised that it hasn't been wrapped up already. And it's made me consider some things, which is, I would not be surprised if the idea for Egghead completely changed from what it was supposed to be. The skeleton of it still remains, but what it would have been might be different. And the reason I've been thinking about that is just because of the 1 month break Oda took after Wano, where he said he had to like kind of redo how he was going to get One Piece into the end game. And that month, many people had put their hopes into believing that, One Piece was going to change in the most positive direction, out of some belief that Oda realized that he had messed up during Wano, or some misguided belief. But I really think Oda was trying to figure out what was the best way to restructure things so that the story could actually end. And it seems that, I mean, I don't know, it's kind of hard to say because Oda's not the same man that he used to be. But just the structure and what's happening in Egghead seems fairly off to me. Like, it is not something I would have expected from really anything that Oda would have done in the past. So I can't help but be skeptical. Dritz, do you think Wano is an example of doing too much with too little time with how packed it was and with the pacing and cause of Oda's health? Or was there time to do it all? Doing too much with too little time. Uh, see, I don't know if I would necessarily phrase it in that way because the arc was really, really long. But like all of the things that Oda had wanted to do, he could have done if he had just been able to manage the time of the story differently and cut down on a lot of the slack, essentially. But at the end of the day, I think it can be said without a doubt that he did pull off more than he could chew. There's just too much going on everywhere at once that demands so much screen time that it was inevitable that many things were going to be fumbled as a result of it. Or if they weren't completely fumbled, end up being underwhelming. Because if so many things aren't going to get the screen time that you would want them to, inevitably they will take a hit. You aren't the only one who thinks that, DJ. Baki tarted Balls HD with the $5 donation. I dropped One Piece during the Odin flashback. I just like keeping up with the story with your streams. Also, shout out to Baki. Jesus Christ, not this Baki bullshit again. Harvest Barry says the Wano anime is proof that the only thing you need for something to be popular and well regarded is occasionally good animation. Writing, pacing, and character do not matter. That is true. That is not an exaggeration. I mean, there's a reason why the One Piece for the animation for One Piece like jacked up during Wano, and there's a reason why the One Piece anime basically tried to copy all of the other successes that popular animes at the time have been using to hype up their own anime. I mean, your casual audience, that will get most of them on board. I think people need to understand that most people go into media not really with the expectation that they're thinking. It's about how much they can be entertained. Vegapunk's design, the main one, got some backlash on release, but people seem to get used to it. What do you think about Vegapunk's designs and women outfits on Egghead? Well, those are two separate, kind of separate, but as far as Vegapunk's design goes, whatever. You know, I'm not mad. I don't really feel any type of way about it. I'm not mad that it's like that. You know, if just because he doesn't look cool or whatever, you know, it's fine to me. It didn't really matter that much. But as I've talked about before, I didn't have any real like high expectations or desire for Vegapunk's character throughout the story, so it doesn't come and hit me in that sort of way. And it also doesn't really matter if Vegapunk was supposed to be an interesting or dynamic character. His funky design really didn't matter to me. It could have been pulled off regardless of what he looked like, I think. Unless he like, I don't know. There was probably some design that would have totally killed that character. But, you know, Big Head Boy that's not going to kill his character. Thoughts on Yamato says, nice goat doctor. Uh, Yamato is the unfortunate victim of Oda's misguided beliefs on what makes characters likable and the complete abandonment of what is, at least to me, one of the most important meta conversation topics in One Piece that's been built up since the beginning. Dritz, do you think the explanation we have gotten for devil fruits and egghead is all we will get? If so, what are your thoughts? Is that all we'll get? No. I actually do think we'll get the, if not the complete answer, an answer whenever the game transitions into the Void Century. As far as the explanation given, um, eh. I have more of an issue with how it was delivered and written versus what the actual answer is. Uh, that entire sequence came off as pretty lame to me, especially in the way that it was structured in terms of panels. But as far as the answer itself goes, whatever. How much of the series do you think is left for One Piece? Well, I'm not going to give you like a chapter count, but in terms of overall story, I don't think there's much left. It may take a while to get there, but I don't think there's much left for One Piece in terms of, what needs to be done. I think people are overestimating how much is actually left in the story. I've been trying to tell them, Billy Bob. I've been trying to tell them that, well, one, swordsmanship in One Piece is doomed, but that cop out from Oda with the most skilled shit was a complete sell into what the actual answer is for the Mihawk stuff. Dritz, I do think that Oda is just trying to get to the finish line as quickly as possible now, regardless of quality. Well, I mean, let's get one thing straight. Oda is, from his point of view, doing things to the best of his ability. Right. Some people believe that, Oda doesn't care and Oda's just trying to finish the story. And on one hand, it's true. Oda, I mean, I don't think it can be denied. Oda wants to end One Piece as fast as possible. But Oda still does care quite a bit. And I think that does come off as pretty obvious, but he's just very, very misguided. Right? He's not like, I don't care if it's good or bad, I'm ending the story. That's not what's going through his mind. He is just misguided in terms of his thought process, his support group, and basically everything that's going on. Thoughts on Shanks one-shotting Kid? It served as a really bad funeral for a character that was already ruined. Adrian says, what are your thoughts on Kuzan after Hachinozu, if you have any? I do hope he gets explored more regarding his motivations and the role he plays. That was a decent start, but he needs way more. Well, I do have thoughts, but I'm going to leave you in a bit of suspense because this is something I do want to talk about in video, and unless Matt has snitched on me, because I talked to him about this, I don't think many other people that I've talked to or have heard talk have even thought about the what I've thought about as far as Kuzan goes. But it's what as not really a surprise, but it's not very uh, good. And for me, it's hard to overlook. Of course, I got my tank top on, baby. Do you think it's possible to write Zoro and Mihawk's duel on Raftel well, or is it just flat out bad? It depends on what your stipulations are. I mean, let's just ask a question. Can the conclusion of Mihawk and Zoro's relationship truly be good if the entire concept around the relationship is broken to begin with? You know, maybe. It depends, but it doesn't have a whole lot going for it at this point in time. Drizzt kind of seems to have finally getting some characterization given his conversation with Kuma after attacking him. I know Kano has been a fraud for a while. What are your thoughts? I wasn't. I can't say that I was really a fan of it. Mainly because leading up to that point, I had just been watching the same stuff with the kind who happened over and over again, where he is just going, "Oh, that burns my ass. Nothing's happening." Blah blah blah. And he does basically nothing, and then Kuma just flies away. It wasn't moving me. Uh, as I said, I think Akainu is basically over as a character already. So, that wasn't moving me. Driss, what do you think of the explanation that one of Egghead's androids gave about why the Marines never found the books from O'Hara? Do you think it makes the Marines hilariously stupid? Yeah, yeah. I mean, it really doesn't make any sense. I mean, you can't rationalize it to make sense. I wonder if that came as a result of just like old discussions back in the day of people like saying, "Oh, the books will come back. They'll actually matter." Or maybe like Oda just didn't want to have Robin's mom basically just kill herself for no reason. But there's really surely there was a better way to go about the handling of the books other than the government didn't realize their true potential after having gone to the island to massacre an entire people for knowing too much about stuff, and the fact that they risked their entire lives to save some books, that never dawned on them as to what that could possibly mean. You know, it's yeah. Do I think Kid will get more stuff? Uh, hmm. I don't know. Whenever I fully read the portion with the Shanks versus Kid stuff, I felt like it could go both ways. I felt like that could be the end of Kid, or Kid could do more things. However, regardless of what he does in the future, which I don't think could really be that much that really matters other than being an ally or like teaming up with Blackbeard or something now that he's got his butt beaten or something. I don't know. I mean, there are things that can happen. But the entire revenge on Shank stuff was uh, poorly handled at best. Yo, what's up, Ferrari, Bugatti, Andrew Tate? What's up, Safim? And you are right, Billy Bob. Did I laugh when I saw the Bonnie He's My Daddy panel? No, I didn't laugh. Uh, I don't know. But Bonnie has. I mean, I can't say that I had any expectations of Bonnie because I never really did. But I'll say at least that I don't really like how, and this actually may be like one of the negative consequences of how unnaturally structured and all over the place Egghead is. But I don't think it's really done Bonnie a whole lot of good. It just everything comes off as being too easily won in terms of revealing everything about her and Kuma and her constantly crying and just Luffy chasing after her, and then somehow loses sight of her and she walks in and kidnaps Vegapunk and it's like, oh, here are my memories, and it's just constantly crying, and then she's not crying and she's running around, and it's just there's something to be said which I constantly harp on about, um, when it comes to what's the experience of finding information out, what's it really like. This is something that Oda really seems to be struggling with, for quite some time, which is evident in all of his side characters and princesses that he's been drawing since the post time skip. Is that he seems to really struggle with actually writing the characters now. So he sort of settles for just being out and open about everything. I don't know. I don't think it really works very well. What's up, Dungeon? I have not read Eden Zero, so I have no thoughts. Do I think Oda had a greater plan for Jack originally? I mean, it depends what you mean by greater plan. I mean, like, Jack didn't need to be anything more than just what he appeared to be in Zoe. I mean, he didn't need greater plans. It's just that I don't know what changed between then and there, but he was it was not cooking. Fall into gotcha hell. Yeah, what's up, Feej? Yes, I am caught up to One Piece, Ferrari. What's up, Shane? I have been playing video games, Shane. Oh, my grasses are on. I just got a text. Let's see. All right, nothing. Drizzt doesn't love us anymore? Maybe. Damian Lillard thoughts? Eh. Dame's trade is like, yeah, that's pretty good, but I don't know. like I'm not automatically assuming anything because I think Dame will kind of have to prove himself to me because I don't believe in Dame as a player, but he's in a great situation, so he's got a very real possibility to make a change. NBA teams right now are kind of stacked, and the idea of them being stacked is very exciting. What's up, Amon? Lakers winning it all this season? Hell no. No, I think the Lakers are they are not a championship team, and that's mainly because given the years that have passed now, unless we do some serious load managing with LeBron, I do not think it's actually possible for the Lakers to enter the playoffs healthy. And that really seems to be the difference maker in how far the Lakers can get. Because without LeBron fully healthy, and he has not been fully healthy for quite a long time, entering into the playoffs at this point, uh, they are not really a reliable team. I mean, like they struggle to get into the playoffs. I mean, it kind of seems like at the halfway point we enter January, it's like will the Lakers make the playoffs or not? Who knows? They'll have to make a run. I'm not very confident in them. AD obviously can't be trusted by himself. He's a complementary piece to LeBron. He can't like be. I don't know. It's a weird situation with the Lakers. They need LeBron to be 100% in order to win the championship. AD is like the piece that makes everything come together and function properly. But they need to be healthy for that. And I just do not think that they will ever be fully healthy for a full playoff run ever again. In the most recent chapter, I've noticed that some of the line work in Lufitsky's Zarafite leaves more to be desired. Well, that's not necessarily a shocker. For some reason, whenever Oda was getting his eye surgery, and hopefully that went swimmingly, I saw people have some weird expectations that like One Piece's art was going to change significantly. I feel like people were very, very misguided to like think that that's like the reason why the art has been slipping. It's not that Oda's eyes have been aging as like the main reason why One Piece's art has changed over the years, especially more recently. Just bad eyesight's not enough. Um, there's a lot going on there, but hopefully Oda's eyes are actually functioning properly now. I'm not sure exactly what he had done. If it was just like LASIK or like an actual eye operation or something, but that's always a scary thing. Just damn, what sparked the interest in picking up the series again? I mean nothing really. I just wanted to stream. It's been like half a year since I last streamed Ferrati, and I wasn't going to stream again without having read One Piece. So that was kind of the reason. How long did I not read One Piece for? Well, until Sunday, I hadn't read it since April. Who wins, Jack or Dofi? Well, at the time, the power scaling's changed because that's just how it goes with One Piece. But at the time, it would have definitely been Jack because Dofi was not. It was. He He'll come out being significantly stronger than he actually was, but Dofi was not that strong, which has always been a point of contention, but he was not. You know, Satsuki, Embiid may be a hyper delusional player. I just don't. I don't know what's going through his head half the time. Thoughts on Hunter x Hunter? Well, Hunter x Hunter is one of those series where I do not rate highly. So I enjoy Hunter x Hunter, but I don't rate it that much. Really did not enjoy the last string of chapters we got. That kind of ruined a major part of the story for me. But overall, I still enjoy Hunter x Hunter. Any children yet? Am I still working IT? Did you get security certs yet? Yep, I'm still working IT. I'm actually about to enter into a new job as well. I've been dealing with some grade A bullshit for the past like 8 months, and I got a new job because of it. A nice cushy one as well, assuming everything goes good. I'm in the onboarding process right now. How do I see Egghead ending? I think Sab Odie 2.0. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, to me, Egghead so far has been very unserious. So like, I actually think it's kind of funny that it's being hyped up to be like a really major arc because it just kind of does not come off that way in any way, shape, or form. Um, I'm just expecting some shenanigans with the robot that conveniently didn't remember that Luffy went into Gear Fifth like 2 times prior to him going into it the third time where it woke up. You know, obviously the robot's going to matter. Something's going to happen with science and blah blah blah, Vegapunk and Saturn and what's his face. But it's kind of funny because the arc just kind of feels like it's a bit of a joke. He took on Law and Luffy, stopped the cap, Drizzt, and they were not strong. Thoughts on Mauler getting attacked for using reactions in his Ahsoka video? I'm gonna need more context to that because I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't even know why he would be attached. You'd have to explain that. I'm not really following. Do I think my kids will like One Piece? If I have kids, they can like whatever they want. Thoughts on Gear 5? I think it's being overused, says Neutral 10. I would agree that it's being overused, but I actually had a conversation with Devil about this. But I think Oda has. I don't know what the solution to this would be, but he's put himself into a tricky situation because the natural progression of Luffy's strength has put Oda in a situation where if there is no drawback to Luffy's strongest abilities, it makes everything that isn't his strongest form completely irrelevant and actually not worth using. Which is something that we've actually seen in Egghead. I actually found it to be rather disappointing how glossed aside Bound Man and the one panel of Snake Man were. But now that Gear 5, and Gear 5's not even Luffy's strongest form, but now that Gear 5's around and Luffy suffers no consequence from going into it, he's at his strongest all the time. It makes everything else not worth using, to be honest. Uh, so it's like a weird thing. So I'm not sure what the best situation would be for that. Because if there's no consequence for using your final form, or there's nothing that's a downside to it, there's no reason to use anything else. Although less, I mean, as much as Luffy's using Gear 5, one of the other issues is that, I mean, Luffy's just not using his strongest ability. So the strongest ability that has no consequence for using it as well. Drizzt, what do you think of Luffy not using his advanced conquers in AK along with Gear 5? I mean, it's not surprising. I mean, Oda does this stuff all of the time. It's one of the issues with the admirals. One of the issues with the power scaling of One Piece is that it's also one of the issues of Luffy being an emperor, but at the same time actually not being an emperor because he will never be treated like one until it's like way too late into the game. Is that the game will be rigged to make things last longer than they realistically should be. Mueller made a video criticizing an Ahsoka episode. He used YouTube's reactions to show how Star Wars fans are very easy to please and prefer nostalgia over good writing. Various people flagged that video. I mean, that's not too surprising. Do you think Emu will be Kaguya, or is Blackbird going to use him as a power up? Hmm. It's hard to say. At this stage in the game, it's probably best if they're separate entities. It also depends on if emu is like what is emu, but do I think any character has the potential to die in the story? Sure. I mean, there's going to be at least a couple of deaths before the story ends. I mean that much is assured. You know who those characters are is going to be up to Oda. I mean, Shanks is still up there as a possible death. As much as the Torlados hate the possibility, it is in fact there to happen. Maybe one of the non-main Straw Hats like Usopp could potentially die. Drizzt, who has done worse, Kaido or Big Mom from an execution standpoint, given their build-up dynamics and concept? And this is when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. Huh. Well, you see, from a potential standpoint, Kaido had a lot more potential than Big Mom. But Big Mom, like, if you, even from a casual's perspective, I think it's easier to see that Big Mom is a fucking clown than it is to notice the deficiencies in Kaido's character and everything that he's lacking. So Big Mom is undoubtedly the bigger clown between the two, and at least your average fan will feel like Kaido went down in a better manner than Big Mom, quote unquote, was defeated. There was just a lot more potential with Kaido. Do I have any thoughts on the Emu Saba stuff at the Reverie? I do, in fact. However, I won't say what they are because it's sort of a surprise. It has nothing really to do with Sabo, because Sabo is sort of irrelevant to that situation, um, at least for what I want to talk about. But the whole Sabo stuff, the confrontation, I do have some commentary on, but it seems to be something that, from what I've seen, only one other person that I follow or be around has seemed to have caught. So I'll leave it as a surprise. This stream will go on to my backup channel, Rogers. If you check the description of the stream, you'll see my VOD channel. Drizzt, what are your thoughts on the Akainu Kuma exchange? Wasn't a fan. Thoughts on what happened to Garp? I will refrain from going into detail, but I'll just say, during my catch up section, like when I was catching up to One Piece on Sunday, The section that surprised me the most as to how poorly it came across to me was the Garp and Kobe section. I consider that to be very disappointing. I do not think that was good at all. Actually, I'll say one thing about it because this is completely irrelevant when it comes to like character stuff and more to. Well, I mean, it's character related, but you know what I mean. One of the things that I think is actually very disappointing about the entire Garp situation is that, to me, Garp came off very poorly in terms of power scaling. Um, compare this to like how other old heads go out or have their chance to shine. Is that Garp was extremely mediocre, in every sense of the word. It was not a good fight between him and Kazan. It was sort of memey, lots of off screens and singular actions that had no defense or offense to it. Not a great showing from what is at the time known as, the greatest Marine in the history of Marines. I think that left a lot to be desired, and it also comes at the expense of something that's already in the background of that fight, which is the fraudulence of the admirals. I don't think it came off very good, and that's something that Oda definitely shouldn't have gone all out on. If other old heads can seem like the god of the verse, or at the very least seem respectable, I mean, Garp should at least get that in a showcase fight against an admiral. And that is, with I don't even care about the Shiryu stuff, uh, but this is more or less how it comes across, the experience in of itself. It was very anticlimactic in a not fulfilling way. Drizzt, is there anything good you can talk about Egghead? I like it more than one, so I feel like we are not covering good sides enough. Is there anything I liked about Egghead? Hmm. I like the robot, the big Void Sentry robot. That's cool. The ancient fuel is neat. I like that. Um, what else is there? Is there really anything else going on in Egghead that I think is actually good or that I thought was cool when I read it? The Kizaru panels are neat. I guess the Kizaru quote unquote. I mean, it's not really even heavy characterization, but uh, the Sentomaru stuff is all right. I don't think it's anything crazy. Uh, oh yeah, the background music's gone because I forgot to put it on loop. Hold on. There we go. I don't like the Bonnie and Kuma stuff, so I won't say that that's good. You want the Landell theme? Let me see if I can find it. What do you think of people overblowing Bonnie's age? To me, it seems very simple. Old guys like Vegapunk, Kizaru, and Saturn are like 30 plus years older than her, hence why they call her a little girl. I mean, the conversation of her age will never die unless like anything gets confirmed. But I would agree with you. I just think that people that are older than her refer to her as a younger girl. Probably doesn't help that she likes to run around as like a kid. But given the way that Oda does fan service for Bonnie, I mean that basically guarantees that she's, at least for Japan, of age. How do I feel about the S Snake stuff? I mean, it's my commentary on S Snake. The things that I actually care about, that's not really that far up there. Um, I think a lot of like the S Snake conversation could have been completely avoided if one, Oda didn't give that bullshit SBS response, but two, uh, I mean, I just go about the way that it's drawn differently. I don't know why the characters have to be like blushing and like have hard eyes. It's it's just the way that it's drawn is weird. Do I watch any pro wrestling? No, I'm not. I'm not a pro wrestling guy. I don't really like that stuff. Yeah, there are a few weird panels of S Snake as well, but uh, Drizzt, do you think there are too many main villains for Luffy to face, like Emu and Blackbeard, so Akainu out of the three had to be casted aside for a while because Oda can't focus on all three? Well, it depends on what you mean by that. If you talk about in relation to Luffy, I don't think Akainu was ever meant for Luffy. So from that standpoint, I wouldn't agree. But if you're talking about just from a focus standpoint, that I mean that's possible. Just just too much on his plate. Someone had to. Well, I mean, it's not like anything's really going on with Blackbeard either. But I hope Saturn one shots Luffy. He better not. Do I read Chainsaw Man? No, I have not read Chainsaw Man yet. Although it kind of feels like all the conversation. Oh, excuse me. It kind of feels like all the conversation around Chainsaw Man died down. I remember whenever Chainsaw Man Shippuden started, I was seeing like panels from it like every week, and now I don't see anyone sharing stuff about it. What do I like more, Whole Cake or Dressrosa? Dressrosa. As stated in my Whole Cake video, I think Whole Cake is the second worst arc in the story. I will follow up on that in the Wano video, Doctor. Andre, you gonna ask that every stream, man? I appreciate it. When am I gonna start Vagabond? After I'm done with the downfall of One Piece, so circa 3000 AD. My favorite Elden Ring builds weapons. I'm a bonk truther, so Unga Bunga for me is best build. Part two died a natural death. What did part two of Chainsaw Man fall off a cliff or something? Drizzt, do you believe in some sort of higher truth? Is this a question as to whether or not I believe in a form of a god? What other manga am I reading? None. I'm not reading any manga actually. Well, actually, that's not true. I'm caught up to or almost caught up to Trojan X. Shout out, son. Dritz, what did you think of the cross guild stuff? Asked Virgil Hawkins. Well, I've been a pretty adamant cross guild denier since its inception. I really do not like the inclusion of the characters that are included in the cross guild. And conceptually, I'm against the idea because the idea itself doesn't work. I think it's negative for Mihawk. Crocodile, sort of whatever. Like my as you guys know, my biggest regret with Crocodile is that there was never any follow up to him with Pluton. Him being cross guild doesn't really matter. Mihawk, I think, is a net negative for being in Cross Guild. I really, really dislike Mihawk being in Cross Guild. And I know that there was conversation about many people liked the speech that Buggy gave, about chasing your dreams and now him going to find the One Piece. Above all of that, there is something that actually irks me the wrong way. And I'm probably going to hold this. This is going to be a personal, uh, just one of the things that I do not like. I really do not like how Buggy's entire character and what I thought was unique about him was essentially retconned in that moment. One of the things I actually liked about Buggy and looked forward to with Buggy was the fact that he wasn't after the One Piece and had his own thing with Captain John's treasure. That to me was unique and cool and something that I thought was going to lead up to something like this is what Buggy's spearheading. He's after Captain John's treasure. He has his own thing. That's cool. And now for that to basically just be a lie because he's mad that Shanks didn't, he wasn't up next and Buggy can't read in between the lines. I'm not really a fan of that. I wish that had been handled differently. I don't like Buggy's like motivation for the entire story to be changed or warped in a way that makes what he was really after not what he was after. Now, I still believe that Captain John's treasure will come into play, but it won't be like the main thing. Like it'll be like a side effect. Drizzt, where do you see Berserk headed, by the way? I seem to have lost complete interest. Well, you're not the only one. I've also lost interest as well. Where do I see it headed? Nowhere good as of right now. Drizzt Part 2 became very slice of life, so it lost a lot of steam, but it's getting steam again recently with old characters coming back. Oh, well, that doesn't sound too bad. Drizzt, I want to talk to you about the GARP section later. Oda manager troll code, we go armor fence at the same time. Okay, yeah, well, we can talk about it, KG. That's fine. Do I think Croc will get the same treatment as Lucci? No, because he's not an enemy. How does Dressrosa compare to pre-time skip arcs for me? Um, I would not rate it highly. I would have it over arcs that I genuinely don't think are that good, like Thriller Bark. Um, but and some like other ones like like Syrup Village, and obviously the Foxy arc, but in Orange Town. But I think I'd probably have a lot of pre-time skip arcs over Dressrosa. Thoughts on York getting off screened? I mean, it didn't really matter because York didn't matter. But the her being off screened, I think, really kind of killed whatever Oda wanted to do with that character. I mean, she was kind of already a bit of a nothing sandwich to me. But the entire Celestial Dragon stuff, I mean, the Vegapunks, that entire trader plot line, much like the Wano trader plot line, was cooked. There wasn't a whole lot of hope for it. It was, I mean, it was like haphazardly thrown in there just to move the plot along. As someone who started reading Berserk around the time the author died and kind of fell off after that, can you still recommend it with where it's going? Are you referring to the series as a whole or the continuation? If you're talking about, like, would I recommend Berserk to somebody? This is a result of my current feelings of where it's at right now, but I would probably only recommend Berserk to someone that I was confident would be able to see that section of the story for what it is. What are your thoughts on Stormlight? Also, have you read Sanderson's other works? I've read several of Sanderson's other works. Stormlight is his magnum opus. His other books are solid. Do you think the Holy Knights are strong or CP0 levels of trash? Um, I mean, it depends on what you're going by for your definition of strong. Like, what are your expectations of the Holy Knights? Which do you think is better, Skypiea or Dressrosa? I would rather read Skypiea. And no, I have not, King. Drizzt, were you surprised by the good reception to the live action adaptation? I didn't expect it, especially after I watched the show. Um, so yes and no. Was I surprised that One Piece fans liked something One Piece? No. Was I surprised that casuals enjoyed it? Yeah. Yeah, I would say I was genuinely surprised. What's up, Devil? Would I ever watch The Sopranos? Yeah, shout out to my boy Stebo, but Stebo did get me to watch most of season one. Just would you agree that the closest thing to objectivity when it comes to writing is an author being able to connect to their audience? I, well, one, no. Two, I think you should expand upon that Mary mode just so you can flesh that out because, I mean, nothing about that's really speaking of objectivity. If anything, I would probably argue the opposite. Downfall Vagabond on its way, KG. Drizzt, I've noticed that much like with Bleach, people have been overhyping Boruto like it's some masterpiece as of late, even though it's still mediocre at best. Um, I mean, in this day and age, DJ, mediocre might as well be goated. So, actually, it's actually an achievement for Boruto to not be bad. So I'm not really mad at that. Drizzt has forsaken us. He will eventually turn hollow, and we will have to defeat him. That is true. I am basically a Dark Souls character now. Will I watch the rest? Probably not. Strong in the sense of rivaling rocks at God Valley. Your expectations of the God Knights are to rival rocks at God Valley? Well, it depends on what you mean by rocks, like as in Zebek or like the rocks group, because they're obviously not going to be on Zebek's level. But I mean, the quote unquote Yonko at the time could be anywhere between fodder to like commander level, which would not be, you know, anything necessarily impressive. Sen Godo. What's up, Sen? Give me the rundown of your thoughts since I missed it. Um, well, I sort of just been answering questions, but I mean, overall, I'm to use Naya's word, unmoved. I think there are a lot of things. Actually, I've sort of talked to you about this, Sen, because I've talked to you privately about some of the issues with what's been going on post Wano. But I am unmoved. What's up, Ivan Lopez? What do you think about One Piece fans' obsession of the manga anime breaking the internet? Well, this is just a fandom thing. I mean, everyone wants what they like to be the next big thing, right? And like, it's just it's like tribalism. Have I finally come to the realization that monsters goaded? Yeah, that is not gonna happen. Favorite non-tank top wearing S-class hero from One Punch Man? Flashy Flash, the goat. The rise of Trojan X. Jesus, son. I don't know. I'm kind of like I'm not on Trojan X like you are, Sen. It's all right for me, but like I've talked before, it's still like it's lacking something vital. We'll see if it gets it as the story continues on, but I'm still waiting for it to hit its stride. I've been enjoying it though. Who would you say is the top one strongest of all time in One Piece? I'm not gonna. Well, I'm gonna exclude any Void Century characters, but Roger. What would be your ranking of the Stormlight books? In order. Well, I haven't read Rhythm of War, so I can't say that. But from the first three volumes, it's in the order that they came out. So Way of Kings, Words of Radiance, and then Oathbringer. Are the Gorosei Big Mom tier fraudulent? I think, shockingly, the Gorosei have eclipsed Big Mom in terms of incompetence. Blood in the Water asks, do you think there is merit to the claim that the One Piece fandom is particularly unable or unwilling to accept flaws of their story and author, or do you think it's nothing out of the ordinary? So this may seem like it's an insulated problem when you're part of that community, but I can assure you, having been a part of multiple communities across different genres, that this is just how it goes. This is the status quo for any fan of basically any series prior to the point in time where it's completely gone downhill at the end. Generally speaking, even for like the most prolific of series blunders, people tend to only switch around whenever it's already way too late and the story is about to end. Until that point in time, it's a ride or die for most fans of anything. If you think that, like, even though on the internet the Fourth Great Ninja War is often criticized, and rightfully so, for how bad it is, if you think that a majority of, like, Naruto fans are on that wavelength, you'd be wrong. How did the tank top obsession come about, by the way? Oh, this is very simple. I think that the tank top gag in One Punch Man is genuinely one of the funniest things I've ever seen in a manga. That is, it might be my most favorite gag of all time. I absolutely love it. Making tank tops a power system is great. Am I excited for Hunter x Hunter to return? No, I'm not. As I alluded to earlier, the last batch of chapters, well, for me, were pretty not good. And I was left particularly devastated with how the flashback went. Now, for me, Hunter x Hunter is like not too far away on like the border of being cooked, depending on how things go. So I can't say I'm looking forward to it, but I will probably check it out whenever the chapters come out. Common Senator W. Will I be in the top 30 Braga stream this year? No, I won't. And just to set expectations, unless the occasion is particularly special, you are very unlikely to see me ever again in any One Piece related stream that is about One Piece. Unless someone has requested me to come on to talk about a specific arc from, because like, obviously I'm going to like give you the critical lens of it, especially if it's like like the recent One Piece arcs. I'll suck off the old One Piece arcs, as you know. But if it's about the new stuff, you're unlikely to see me in any One Piece stream, any match stream, or any stream in general. Drizzt, do you think Zebek is going to be a fraud? I want to have great expectations, but I'm unsure after Wana's ending Garp's defeat at Hachinoso. Zebek fraud. It's, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure with Zebek because I feel like there are a lot of expectations around him because Oda's been setting him up. You know, like, I mean, Zebek's lore and the rocks have basically overtaken the entirety of Roger's legacy. So there's really like a lot there that needs to be fulfilled. I mean, Zebek is literally the reason why Kaido's a bad character now at this point because of the way that Oda could not do anything because it he just wanted to save it. Um, it's I don't know if he can live up to that. For me, it's like my relationship with One Piece, it doesn't really matter anymore. But it also taking the context that from a power scaling standpoint, Zebek is probably not as strong as people think he is. Considering the fact that it was a non-prime or allegedly non-prime Garp and then Roger that quote unquote teamed up. Roger did all the work to beat him. Thoughts on Rickert? Well, since I haven't read the chapter, but I've seen the final panel and I'm not moved. I mean that doesn't really mean anything to me at this point, especially considering that what came before it was like more important than what was going to happen with Rickert. I can't be excited for the non-cooking that's about to happen. Thoughts on Tom Holland? Top 3 actor of all time, easy. Drizzt, do you want to have a discussion with me about Wano? Nah, I'm good, man. Garp teaming up with Rogers like Kid teaming up with Luffy. It is. It actually is. It actually might be worse than that. Drizzt, speaking of Stormlight, you should get to Rhythm of War. Uh, yeah, I should get to Rhythm of War. I still have not bought the book. I still have not read it. It's been like 2 years now. Rick are gonna save the manga and guts. Let Mori cook. Sen. This is this cannot be what we put in our hopes into. Especially because the ceiling for what could be good is not going to make up for how bad things have been mishandled with the most important part of the entire story. Even though Rickert's my goat and I really, really love him, he whatever would transpire for him doesn't make up for the past. What are my PC specs? I have a Ryzen 3900X, a 3080, and 128 gigs of RAM. Drizzt, worse as in concept or for power scaling reasons when it comes to Garp teaming up with Roger? Worse in terms of like how it makes Garp come across in terms of power scaling. Like as I've gone on my rant the last time I streamed, you guys know that I'm subscribing more heavily and heavily into the idea that Kobe's extreme fraudulence is a direct mirror to Garp. Why would you play Dark Souls 2? Why would I want you to play Dark Souls 2, Devil? Hey, Drizzt, can you see a Kainu whacking Kuma? The panel where he hit Kuma with the Magnifist is identical to the one that he hits Whitebeard with, foreshadowing, perhaps? I wouldn't take that as foreshadowing, no. I would just take that as, like, that's just what Oda's going to do whenever he shows, like, Kuma, Akainu hitting stuff. What do I think is going to happen with Smoker at this point, if anything? I can't even give you a trajectory because there's like no reason for his character to even be in the story anymore. Um, I don't know. I think he's just gonna show up and like talk about Luffy or something, and he'll just be involved. Maybe sucking Kobe off in the corner or something. I'm not sure. Um, he really doesn't have a direction for his character. So, yeah. Maybe Smoker will come into play with Kuzan. Who knows? Have I played all of the Souls games? How would you rank them? I haven't played. Why I didn't finish Bloodborne. I haven't played Dark Souls 2, and I've only played about 1 hour of Demon Souls because I played it at my brother's house. But how I would rank them, I mean, there's really not a whole lot to rank out of that basically. But before it would have been Dark Souls 3 at number one, but Elden Ring is probably my number one now after my recent playthroughs. But I have to think about it. It's between Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring. Well, that's one of the reasons why I don't do the top 30s anymore. Is that One Piece power scaling? There's no reason to talk about it because One Piece power scaling is no longer fun. So, why the reason to do top 30s is that you're actually somewhat invested into what the answers could be and what the trajectory of certain characters' past could be. But once it all sort of breaks down, it just becomes kind of meaningless. Do I think One Piece will end in the way Game of Thrones did? Do you think it will be better or worse? Well, I don't think it will be as bad as Game of Thrones ending. In terms of like, a couple of moments that are just so bad, it turns the entire community. I don't think it'll have something like that. Do I think the Punk Hazard kids will be brought up again? Yeah, in passing, while it's being used in relation to like another topic. Do I think Fujitora is contradictory in terms of his ideology? Oh, I'm starting to get tired. I can't stop yawning. In terms of his ideology. Fujitora, I wouldn't say he's contradictory, but every other quote unquote good Marine, except for maybe Kobe and Once Upon a Time Smoker, which are all essentially iterations of Fujitora, they are contradictory. Drizzt, what do you think of Advanced Conquerors not being a power up we can for certain know is being used except via dialogue post Wano? Well, we can know for sure when it's being used. It's just Oda's not doing it. Do I think Smoker will become an admiral? I mean, if he does, what? It's basically insult to injury. You know, the admiral position means nothing anyway. So if Smoker gets it, it's just par for the course. Did Oda change Green Bull's personality, and was he ruined due to Film Red's promotion? I think you can make an argument that Oda did change Green Bull's personality. Yeah, I think you could definitely make that because he also changed his design as well, based on his silhouette. But was it due to Film Red's promotion, or was it just due to just like stuff that just naturally changed with the idea of that character from the time that he was foreshadowed till the time that Oda thought about bringing him into the story? Do I think Oda views Future Sight as a mistake considering how little he uses it? No. Like, once again, these are not things that Oda thinks he messed up doing or thinks are issues. Right? You know, from the perspective of, you know, Oda, it's probably all working as planned. What do I think about the Gear 5 eye popping out multiple times last chapter? Well, this all stems back to the inception of Gear 5 and its uses against Kaido. Oda is definitely going ham on the gags. Um, to me, it wouldn't be bad if it was paired with something else that I will leave as a secret for now because I want to talk about it when I get to the Kaido fight. But with this secret not being there, it does come off as a bit much to me. Mainly because Luffy's being actively nerfed. The stream is so dull. Invite someone else. Nah, I'm good, bro. I don't care. I streamed for myself and to talk to people, Marimo. If the stream's dull, then whatever. I really don't care. I'm not going to invite people or anything. Do I think Oda views Rio as being redundant? These questions where it starts off with, or the premise of the question is, do you think Oda thinks he did something bad with this ability? Or do you think he thinks he wasted this ability? My answer to that, in almost every situation, is probably going to be no. Like the author, I have no reason to believe that Oda is actively like thinking that like, yeah, I wasted this. When do you think you'll have the Wano video done by? This question is often asked, Stanley. I can't give you an answer because, like, I have just started to find my motivation. So if I was going ham on the script and video, it's possible I could have the video out by the end of this month. If I do not go ham, though, or if I continue to do nothing, which has been the status quo since the Whole Cake Island video, then it could be never. That is a possibility. Drizzt, do you think Marines looking sad is because Oda is trying to balance between focusing on both the Yonkos and the Marines as threats, but Yonko take more spotlight so Marines come off as bad? Well, that is one part of a larger equation, yeah. Am I saying the plot is nerfing Luffy? The plot is definitely nerfing Luffy because he's essentially not trying. Like, he's not using techniques that we don't know if admirals can even combat. Luffy went toe to toe and was Kaido's equal prior to Gear 5. So, relevant. Harbison says, "You said the Reverie video will be the it's not just the Reverie video, just for context. It is after I do the downfall, of Wano, basically. After that will be include Reverie and the future of One Piece, like things that happen post Wano by the time I get there. But to finish your question, uh, even if the last arcs are just as bad, if not worse than Wano, you have no intention of covering them. Correct. Correct. I just like as it's pretty obvious just by my mannerisms, how I talk. One of the things that I mentioned that has changed over time is, like I'm done with One Piece. Once I finish the downfall of One Piece video, like I have no reason to, as opposed to how I was at the beginning of the video series, I now have no reason to continue the story. So once I finish what I need to finish, that will be it for me. I will likely be officially stepping away from One Piece, with no intention of picking it up again. So you say Luffy greater than Kaido? I'm saying that for the period of time that Luffy was fighting Kaido after he got Conquerors, he was Kaido's equal. So Kaido at his strongest is as strong as Luffy was in base. But Kaido could probably fight for longer and possibly outlast Luffy if they were to restart the fight from the beginning at the end of the fight. Maybe not, though. It depends on how much. If they restarted the fight and Luffy used his giant fist, you know, we don't know how much damage that could actually do to a full health Kaido or a medium health Kaido or a Kaido that's not exhausted. That's a question that doesn't have an answer. Kaido obviously has no counter to it. His only hope would be able to dodge it, and he wouldn't dodge it. So it's really a question of could he survive that? When did I last reread One Piece from the beginning? When I made the Downfall series, the first video. Please keep them up forever. I won't take down the Downfall videos. I put too much time into those. If I ever reread One Piece in the future, where do you think you'll stop the read? At Marineford? I probably won't reread One Piece ever again. I mean, I can't say for sure, but you know, like once I'm done with One Piece, I will be done. Like I won't have a reason to reread it again. Unless I'm feeling particularly nostalgic and emotional, like some emo, and want to reread a portion of the story that I love, then I go back and reread it. But, you know, that's not something I can predict because motivation strikes at weird times in the middle of the night. I am not making Stormlight videos. Have you ever thought about getting into fighting games like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and Tekken? I don't really like traditional fighting games. The only fighting games I ever really seemed to enjoy playing was games like Smash, which I'm not awful at Smash. That's cool, Tesla. Get back to me whenever you can, man. I'm not, like I said, I'm no, I'm no role model for responding in timely manner. I'll be sad to not have your opinions on the final arc, but if your heart's not in it anymore, there's no point, of course. Exactly, and that's where I'm at. Just from a power scaling standpoint, is Zoro the worst outside of Luffy in your opinion? Power scaling from both how Oda writes him and how the fandom perceives him, like ZKK. Okay, well, let's not take ZKK as an accurate representation of like sanity. I mean that is born. I mean, uh, I mean the Zoro situation. It's like how much of that is Oda's fault and how much of that is just like meat riders. I really couldn't tell you. Like it's a unique situation to say the least about Zoro fans' delusion and you know hopping on some green pubes. You know, I was actually thinking about it not too long ago, but I was thinking about Zoro's quote unquote power level. And it was funny to think about it because I was like, you know, Zoro basically didn't learn shit from the time skip outside of basic hockey that is completely irrelevant, essentially. His bag really didn't get much deeper. And then he was like, fuck King. I don't care to watch someone else read One Piece, Marimo. Who do I main? Donkey Kong. Have I ever played any of the Final Fantasy games? The only Final Fantasy game, well, I've technically played two, but the only actual Final Fantasy game that I've played is Final Fantasy 12, and I did like it. The only other one I played was Final Fantasy Dirge of Cerberus, which was like a shooter game. If someone put a gun to your head and said you have to reread One Piece or read Baki, what flowers would you want at your funeral? Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I would definitely be dead. ZKK had people like Matt and Fiji involved. Yeah, but they were brainwashed. Well, Matt was brainwashed, at least. Just, did you watch the Barbie movie? I did have not, but I have watched the "I'm Just Ken" music trailer clip because I thought that was really cool, like 100 times. But I have not seen the movie itself. I don't. I haven't watched the One Piece anime since the very beginning of Whole Cake Island, so I can't give any input. I really, I did not like the One Piece anime. Basically, for a vast majority of the time skip beginning in Punk Hazard, and it was virtually unwatchable to me. And I had finally had enough after I got to Whole Cake Island, and I was like, I'm done, man. I can't take it anymore. Drizzt fair, but in general, do you think he is because one criticism that Zoro has had for a while before Wano was that he was just washed flounder, so that was hard to determine his strength until Wano? Yeah, it was, but that there's also a massive power scaling issue with the Straw Hats not named Luffy before they got to Wano. The devil, like I said, they were victims of dogma. All right, the dogma got to them. I did not watch Oppenheimer. I heard it was solid though. I heard it was a good movie. If Midir was in Elden Ring, would he be easier or harder than in Dark Souls 3? Well, if he was in Elden Ring, he'd probably be harder, just because the scaling is completely different in the games. No, I did like Kaido's dragon reveal. I thought that was sick, because that's what I wanted Kaido to be. Well, actually, what I really wanted, if it was up to me, I would have liked if Kaido was actually a dragon. I don't know if you guys remember, but there was that old theory that Kaido was an actual dragon that ate like an oni fruit. So what his normal form was is that he was in his Zoan form. I actually really liked that idea, but to some degree, I wanted Kaido to be a dragon. So when I saw the dragon form, I was like, yes, I got what I wanted. Cool. Did I watch Spider Verse 2? No. And I won't watch Spider Verse 2 unless Devil makes me watch it. Colin, why are you asking me Grand Line versus Morge? Yo, what's up, Young? I'm not convinced, Devil. Drizzt, is King's Lunarian defense mechanism really flawed with logical inconsistencies? Well, I mean, there's one part of it that is, because of Egghead, to me, something that probably shouldn't be. But I mean, the only logical consistencies is the fact that Zoro's fight doesn't make any sense. Not that the Lunarian stuff is flawed. Just wanted to see which one you liked better. Well, let's see. Well, I know Morge personally, and I've watched his videos, so that kind of changes some stuff. I do not know Grand Line, and I've only seen some of his videos, so I can't really judge him too much outside of what I see from his videos. But I do not like his videos. But I do like more just because, well, I'm not a casual One Piece fan, so if I want to watch a video, I would like it to provide something that's worth thinking about, really. You know, like a conversation or, you know, a look into something that is worth the conversation to have. And Morge provides that. Do I know of the Pirate Folk subreddit? I do. What do I think about it? I mean, I don't, not a whole lot, I guess. I mean, I don't really know a lot about it. Um, I know a few things, but as I've said before in the past, I think it's just a testament to kind of what I've talked about ad nauseum about breaking points with stories and just how prolific Wano is in the long story of One Piece. Yo, what's up, Jedi? Hey, Cristiano. Cristiano Ronaldo. Thoughts on the current state of Jump? Well, I can't read, and I don't read shonen really or anything. So I mean I can't really make comments based on the quality of the magazine in terms of stories because I don't read stuff. But the that I mean Jump is going to be at a very negative place in 5 years probably, maybe less than that. Basically every story that's popular now will be like over in 5 years, so they're gonna be fucked unless they find some talented people or tie Oda's leg to his desk. What do you think when Oda introduces a random last minute race in the story like the Lunarians or the Three Eyed Tribe? A Three Eyed Idiots. Actually, I thought the Three Eyed Tribe had some potential. Um, I mean, compared to the Lunarians, the Three Eyed Tribe didn't get any love at all. Rather unfortunate. I thought they could have been cool. But the last minute races are kind of They're kind of weird. Um, I don't know. It's not like it's the craziest thing. Like it's a big deal, really. But you know, I can't really say I would have had it planned. I'm sure there'll be a new hit. There always is. Well, I mean, people say that, but I mean, magazines go through eras. I mean, the Shonen Jump's been blessed to have. I mean, for like the like at least like 15 years, like a solid like 2 or 3 series take up most of like the block of that. Authors nowadays don't seem to be making stories for a very long time, right? Like what is there ever going to be a new story like One Piece or Naruto that's going to last like 15 years in the Shonen Jump manga? Probably not. I mean, I wouldn't say probably not, but it's not going to be a lot of them. I don't think a lot of the newer authors and new age people seem to be more on the side of fast. Not only because it's probably what they want to do, but also because that's what Shonen Jump is probably telling them to do because they keep trying to be like, you have to do this to be hot. And also, if you can't build your story to be like a top five selling in like 3 chapters, then we're gonna drop you. Stories don't have a whole lot of time to cook. Do I think the lolicon thing is a big issue among manga readers? Among manga readers? As in, there are a lot of manga readers that are lolicons? Or the lolicon epidemic that readers are noticing from perverts in Japan? Either way, both are true. Japan's pretty fucked up. These mangaka are, some of them are pretty messed up people. That's why they're in the manga business to begin with. It sort of attracts that sort of stuff. Get a few more Demon Slayers, they'll be all right. Yeah, what I'm saying is like, but are you gonna get a Demon Slayer back to back to back to back? That's the issue is longevity, right? Because like how many stories are gonna be hot, and then how many stories are gonna be hot at once? Luckily, Shonen Jump could probably be carried just by social media clout over the next however many years, but there is the chance for it to flop. It's not a perfect system. This will go up onto my VOD channel, Mad World. Link in the description. Seven. I mean, Seven Deadly Sins isn't the only one, man. I mean, there are a lot of examples. I mean, look at Act Age, half of Oda's friends. The shit goes deep. If there was like an all star team of mangaka pedos from Shonen Jump, it would kind of be stacked. They still have the gap between Dragon. Yeah, but that's also a different age, though, Adrian. Like, but in the gap between Dragon Ball and One Piece, which I don't know how big that gap was, I would have to look it up. This is also before the age of social media and before things in like the entertainment industry really amped up, where everything needs to be a hit immediately and needs to be generating X amount of profit for corporations to be happy. Prior to that being the case, I mean, there's probably a lot of stories in Jump that today would never have even made Jump, that had a lot of time to air and, like, for the authors to figure stuff out in order to make a satisfactory story. It's no longer like that. I mean, there are known authors being canceled left and right, whose names are not enough. Kishimoto's new manga is out of there. They actually canceled the guy who made Naruto, bro. He had to go back and do Naruto again for them to care. On that, well, this is a weird question. On average, how long do you think a good story should be? Should it be long running like One Piece, Berserk, and JoJo's, or more medium in size like Naruto, Bleach, etc.? I mean, there's no right answer to that. It just depends on what kind of story you're making. Some stories are better the longer you do them, if you can do it right. And some stories are specifically designed where if you make it long, the concept loses all of its novelty, and you're basically forced to do the same thing over and over again. Or maybe not forced, but it tends to lead that direction. Who do I think is the golden standard when it comes to manga storytelling? Listen, I have very little experience when it comes to like manga in general. So you're talking to someone who doesn't have a whole lot of historical experience with manga. I've read the things that I've read, and it's not a whole lot, and I haven't read a whole lot of the quote unquote greats. So all I can do is basically just answer Berserk to you because that's what I like. If One Piece was released today, it would have been canceled by Jump. I mean, if One Piece was released in the exact same way that it is now, yeah, probably it would have been canceled. But that's one of the things is that if One Piece was released now, it wouldn't be the same way that it was. They probably would have forced Oda to change multiple things in not positive light. Thoughts on Homelander, Devil? You play a Mortal Kombat as Homelander, Devil? What exactly would they force him to change? It's hard to say. I mean, they could have forced a lot of things. They could have been like, yeah, Orange Town, this is not flying. You're canceled if you don't have this. You know, if you put this in here. Buggy, not cool enough. Not raw. Change it. In fact, the entire mood of One Piece might not have flown in today's era. For like, you know, if, a lot of the stories they've been releasing have been following like the, you know, what many people think of when they think of shonen and action stories. One Piece is a completely unique compared to most stories in that regard, where it's, you know, the entire tone is usually different, especially in the beginning when it's very, very lighthearted and jokey. They would have changed like how they changed the live action. Yeah, probably. Or they would have suggested it, and if Oda didn't do this, like, you can either do this or you can just like not release it. You know, we'll cancel you, old man. He'd be young at that point, but you know, the point's still the same. What do I think of the name Boruto Two Blue Vortex? Doing too much. I don't know what the hell that means, man. Why they have to name it anything? Naruto was Naruto for its entire inception. What? Why did they actually make Naruto Shippuden canon in the manga? What's up with that? I can't remember exactly what Ruby Dragon is, but you say slice of life. Slice of life is different, right? Slice of life is its own genre that can be nichely popular if there's cute girls involved and some lolicons, some lollies for the lolicons. But that's way different than, you know, One Piece battle manga that people say isn't a battle manga. Did I read the Minato one shot? No, no, I don't plan to either. Kishi's lost me. He won't get me back again. Plus, I'm not a Minato fan, so he can keep that. Is Bleach the only other shonen series that got back what was got back because fans wanted the final arc to be fixed? Um, well, Bleach is a lot more doable because it still was pretty popular. If Bleach was a no-name series that wasn't respected, at least in terms of shonen, even if the fans had wanted it, they weren't going to get it. But it was definitely a profitable idea. Yeah, thanks for being around, Pirate. And yeah, Christian, tastes change over time. I was gonna say change taste over time. I'll tell you something I've become increasingly more picky with over time in terms of like what will is more inclined to get me into a story is prose, especially for manga. People who got into the One Piece via the live action have told me that Zoro would kill Estrada if Luffy ordered him to. They've seen it from the live action TikTok creators. Oh my god. How did that become meta? Oh, if Luffy ordered Zoro to suck his dick, he would do it. Oh my god. Oh, it's over. which one's coming out sooner, my Wanna video or Joseph Anderson's Witcher 3 video. Which one's taking longer? How long? I know the Witcher 3 video has been in the works for a very long time, right? I mean, it's been like a long time. I guess we'll end off on the live action. Because I didn't say what the clip I saw from the live action was. The only clip I've seen from the live action that wasn't the first trailer that came out. The only clip that I've seen from the live action was Mihawk's introduction, and to me, it was basically wrong in every possible way it could be wrong. I did not enjoy it. Garp ordering Mihawk is, in and of itself, just getting the character wrong. Plus, I don't know, it kind of felt like watching a Bollywood movie. I thought the effects were actually not that good, but it kind of felt like I was watching a posh, non-raw Mihawk be introduced. I'm not sure why they changed it so much. They didn't have to change anything. They made it not raw. Oh, I know Nojiko got race swapped. That I don't care about. I mean, like, they're non-biological sisters. Who cares? Whatever. No, I really don't care. If anything, it's like that's the thing. It's like, okay, yeah, cool. That's a neat change. That doesn't really matter. Whatever. Doesn't make any difference to the story, really. I don't know what else they did with Nojiko in the live action, but just as the idea itself, it doesn't really matter. Harmless. The bright hair color was a mistake, though. Yeah. Well, I mean, it didn't really seem like the wigs were that great. Um, yeah, they probably could have just gone for just like a non-blue hair. I don't know. They were probably trying to remain faithful, so like they wanted to have Nojiko have like bright blue hair. But whatever. Not the worst thing that could happen. Oda hated the Garp plotline the most, and they still forced it in there. What the hell's wrong with these guys? Well, as far as time goes, Matt, I mean, I don't know if I mean they had a lot of funding for it, and One Piece is in its prime popularity in terms of numbers. So timing wise, it probably makes sense for them to have tried a live action around this point in time, especially considering live actions seem to be getting lots of funding for whatever fucking reason. It's just I don't know, and I also know that there's a I know from a creator standpoint, outside of just money and obvious reasons, I know that Oda is this is like his last push because the story is going to end soon, and you can't really like get people to join the like what Oda wants to do unless you try everything you can. So I know Oda wants to push One Piece out there so that people, skip the story and read the end of it and stuff like that. So, mm, probably. I mean, if anything, they probably just got the wrong people involved. Then again, it is Netflix, so I mean, what are you gonna do? Yeah, when it comes to the argument though of like, well, if all that matters about the live action is whether or not it gets people to read the manga. I mean, these are very very low standards and a low bar, right? I mean, like to me the scale of how you should judge a live action is if it's actually good, not whether or not it gets people to read the manga, right? Because like, let's say Lord of the Rings was like not good, but it got some people to go check out Tolkien's book. Vastly different from it being, completely goaded. Things should be able to stand on their own merits. Did you hear about them getting One Piece YouTubers to help on season two? Yeah, I'm sure that'll go good. Let me read your questions, Maddie. Is there anything that you're still looking forward to in One Piece, like something you would want to have to tune into, something you wouldn't want to be spoiled on, whether it be a fight or a plot point? You know the answers. Just asking for the chat. I think the chat already knows those answers as well, Matt. But I'll just do it for you because I love you so much. The answer is no. There's nothing that I could hear about that I would want to tune in for, and I mean that. There's literally nothing. Mihawk could be fighting Zoro in like 5 months, and I would not tune into it. Drizzt, how would you react if the One Piece ended up being sake? I know that this is, he might have taken it from someone else, but I know that this idea was popularized by Arter. I've commented on this before, but to me, it's that is one of the stupidest ideas that I think could be true. Like if I don't know what the theory is behind it, but regardless of whatever the evidence is, I think it would be stupid as fuck. Drizzt, why don't you collab with other YouTubers? Well, I mean, there's several reasons for that. One, I don't make content, so collabing doesn't really get me anything. Two, I'm kind of the only One Piece YouTuber who thinks that One Piece is like really bad right now. So any collab would essentially not happen. And three, I don't really have anyone I want to collab with. I actively dislike most of the One Piece community. Even the blacks, Drizzt. I love my brothers. But, I mean, like, I have been spewing forth my rants to the blacks on some Malcolm X shit for like years at this point. Alright, they have heard it all. What the fuck did I just read? If Seraphim Ace exists and he has a real emotional dialogue with Luffy, will you return? What? No, that is the exact thing to keep me away. Seraphim Ace, my ass, man. Do you think the Gear 5 gags are getting stale? Well, see, it is hard to say because one, Gear 5 is already controversial. So if you already don't like Gear 5 because of the circumstances around it and the reasons why Gear 5 is not good, then constantly seeing Gear 5 gags is just going to remind you of the reason why you didn't like it and everything all of the baggage that comes with Gear 5. So how much of the Gear 5 gags is just baggage from just its horrible starting legacy versus the execution of them? As I've told you guys earlier in the stream, the main issue with Gear 5 for me is not the gags in the current fight. It is how Oda is power scaling the fight. Or, if you could even call it a fight. Gear 5 doesn't even seem like a power-up most of the time. Do I like the concept of Gear 5? Well, by concept of Gear 5, I'm just going to take this as a question of, do I like the abilities and the creativity of it? And on paper, yeah. I mean, it's fine. I mean, I've gone on air about this. Like, it's interesting. It's very creative. Is it my cup of tea? No. I mean, just look at my tastes. I subscribe more to the standard versions of Raw. If you ask me, what do I think is more Raw? Luffy going gear 5, or the first time I saw Luffy go gear 2nd, or gear 4th, or entering Snake Man. All of those other ones, I'm going to say, were greater experiences for me and more Raw. Right? So that's my preference. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the only right way. I mean, Gear 5, there could be a lineage and a story to Gear 5 in terms of how it develops. Right? I mean, one of the main concerns about Gear 5 that, I mean, I don't think is actually completely fair is that people worry or are already saying that Gear 5 will completely take away the stakes of all fights for the rest of time, and that One Piece will never be serious again, and it will never get back to the cool stage, right? I mean, these are valid concerns, but they're not active within the story. I mean, Luffy just got Gear 5. It's not absurd that the arc after he got it, he's still kind of doing the same thing when the situations are pretty non-serious. Just as an edgelord, I am an edgelord. Edge grader. I like sad boys. I like edgelords. It's what it do. Gear 4 shits on Gear 5. It does. What's up, Trevor? Do I think Gear 5 was rushed? Uh, it's hard to say what the difference is between an idea being rushed and it not being thought out well. Like if the execution of an idea is not good, then can you say it was rushed or just that it just didn't work? It's hard to tell the difference with Gear 5. You could probably argue both, to be honest, given the fuckery that we knew existed around Wano and Oda's seemingly continuous issues with writing on Wano during Wano. Well, Trevor, I'm sorry to tell you that that's already true. Any range of time on when the next stream will be? Well, now that I'm caught up to One Piece, it can be whenever. So it won't be another 6 months, I'll say that. I guess it's just, if people want me to stream, just let me know, basically. Because, I mean, chances are the next time I stream, I'll be answering many of the questions here again. That's just how it goes. But, if people want me to stream or like want me to like come out and say stuff about stuff, the easiest way is to either message me, join the Discord and at me and let me know. That way I know there's like an interest and a demand for it. If people want my commentary on something or stuff like that, the only way for me to like really know is for you guys to let me know. Anyway, that is going to end the stream from here. I need to catch some Z's. The VOD for this will probably be uploaded later tonight. So if you didn't catch all of it, you can catch it on the archive channel at some point tonight. Thank you guys for joining in, and I'll catch you later.